big news today as the US squad was announced.
The omissions also take center stage.
We cannot talk about the players that are not in the roster because I think it's very disrespectful to the players that made the roster.
Every time he talks to the press, he's talking down to these people. It reeks of you stupid Americans.
It's unbelievably condescending.
There was just an email that was sent out which basically said you were in or you were out.
When I was sacked, in different clubs, one was in Tottenham, and Daniel, the president say, I want to talk with you. What do you want to talk about me?
What sort of human being does that send an email?
It's like breaking up via text. You can't do that. When you don't give a phone call and you don't acknowledge the existence of these players, they're just another number.
During 2 weeks, I didn't sleep. And today, still I cannot enjoy the 26 guys that are in front of me because I am thinking in players that are out.
Feel sorry for me that I've had sleepless nights. Don't feel sorry about the guys that are left out. They are not deserving of a phone call.
Because if I call, it's about myself. I say, I call, I am very human about calling and then giving explanation. Come on, that is bullshit.
For me, it was important that I had that conversation,
Jurgen Klinsmann called me. I had a voicemail from Jurgen Klinsmann, and it meant more to me than he probably ever would.
Let's talk about the football part, shall we, apart from emails?
I have no idea what Pochettino's doing.
No matter what happened last fall, before the Gold Cup, it's all in the past.
It's truly been a coin toss every time a roster comes out and every time a lineup comes out.
Este equipo está para jugarle a cualquier selección al tú por tú.
This is fine, isn't it?
Where was the guts in this team? Where was the fight? Where was the desire? I mean, how many times have we sat and said that?
Too many times.
When the only thing you know when you play against Paraguay, and Australia in particular, is there's going to be a fight.
If you're not a little bit nervous, you don't feel it a little bit, you don't care. So we care so much.
I can't recall a more unlikable U.S. men's national team in my lifetime.
I really believe that this country deserves even more drive to say, we can be there until the end.
You were always a Tyler Adams injury away from a disaster.
It always feels like home coming back here.
Are you saying I feel like home? Oh, thank you.
Not anymore.
All right, Nedum has been chuckling, and we've decided to get a little outsider's perspective after the U.S. men's national team roster for the World Cup was announced. But Nedum, before I get specific, what's making you laugh so much about that?
Just usually from this perspective, I hear all the drama in England about these England sides. This is the worst manager ever, this is the worst squad ever, this is this, that is that. So to be able to just take a back seat and just watch another nation go through all the emotions before a tournament, it just felt great, to be honest, yeah.
Yeah, England's not the only toxic one. And may I just say, though, I've been broken up with via email, my ESPN email. All the boys here know because I've told them the story many a time, and it sucks. So, Nedum, let me ask you two, as a player, do you have any issues with this whole email gate that Mauricio Pochettino is being thrown under the bus for?
Yeah, I do, to be honest. I think for most players, if not all players, they'll say the absolute pinnacle you can achieve in football is to be able to play for your national team at a World Cup. And if you think you're in the mix and you're very, very close to it, like at times, maybe it's the hope that kills you. But also sometimes those cold messages, if they're delivered in a way which is like, offers a bit more like humility and like warmth to it, you still face the disappointment, but you can sort of see a path forward. You can see hope, and you can think maybe my time is to come, perhaps. But if you're just receiving an email, like this is email alongside other stuff you want to subscribe for, you're getting deals in email. Oh yeah, and a letter from the US men's national team saying that no, you're not in the squad for this World Cup. It just feels a little bit too cold to me. And I know that like Pochettino is saying, I was fired by Daniel Levy, and what did he want to talk to me for, this, that, and the other. But I think there is something to be said about the human side within football. Like this is an event that's happening every 4 years. And I think a manager or a head coach in that sort of position, you don't have to be the nicest person on planet Earth, but it helps to be able to help like morale in the squad and for those people around it. Because as things are right now, especially given the stuff you were saying about, I think Timothy Ware around like ticket prices and so on, I think for some of these men's national teams players, this is going to be the longest 6 weeks of their lives, with somebody who essentially almost gives off this energy like he doesn't really want to be there. So, yeah, I would have preferred it if, for example, he would have had something more personal to offer to those players, because that's probably, for them, as tough a moment as they've had in their careers, possibly in their lives to this point. And if you're just going to be receiving an email saying, nah, you're not good enough, you're not going to make it, I think, if anything, it kind of breeds a little bit of resentment between yourself and either the whole, USA football or soccer, or the manager himself, and you don't really want that when everybody needs to be pulling in the same direction and offering support, whether they're on the field or watching from back home.
The more you listen to his press conference, the more confusing it becomes, and the less likable that Mauricio Pochettino comes across. When he decides to say something along the lines that he has been left off teams before, and he didn't want to hear about the manager, or he didn't want to hear reasons from the manager, but that was his own experience. That's on you. That doesn't necessarily apply to everybody else, and just because that applies to you, it doesn't mean that automatically everybody is now in that same bucket. As a manager, it is your responsibility to communicate with your players. And up until that 26-man roster came out, those players that had been part of the pool and those that were close to making it, they were your players. They were your players. And you asked them to commit to your cause. And they believed in the things that you were talking about, and the culture you were building is one of the things that he has mentioned time and time again, the word culture. Is this good culture? Not communicating with your players directly? Is that in any way building any sort of good culture around a team? No, it isn't. The other part that I find troubling, well, there are many things that I find troubling about this, but when he's talking about Daniel Levy and that he didn't want to talk to Daniel Levy, and I just mentioned that was his own experience, but he is forgetting that his responsibility is to deliver the message. The players will do with that message what they will. But at the very least, you have been honest with the player. You're not making it about yourself. That is wrong. He says that's making it about himself. No, you're actually putting yourself out there to make it about the players. About the players. It's not to make yourself feel better. It's to make those players feel like they're seen, like they were part of the process. And that in itself, there's value to that. And if you don't recognize the value to that, then the culture that you're trying to build, no thank you, I don't want to be a part of it either.
This is one of those times where your coaching staff should step in and help you. I can hear Moreno talking to me now. If I'd when I would have spoken to him about how do we relay the message to the players that are not going? You know, what do we do? Blah blah. And then I go, well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to email them. He would have been in my ear going, Stevie boy, you need to speak to them. And then he would have walked away. He would just have planted the seed, wouldn't have told me what to do, but he would have made sure that I got the message. And that's where you need your coaching staff, not to be yes men, to actually look after you. Because what they would have done is they would have looked after them. Because for every Pochettino who doesn't want to speak to anybody, there are millions that want somebody to tell them that they're actually not doing it. And they want to hear you tell them, the person that has decided your fate, you want them to tell you which way it's going to go. So his coaching staff have let him down, in my opinion, on this occasion.
And I agree with you, Stevie. But if at this point in his managerial career, Mauricio Pochettino doesn't understand that himself, then we have a bigger issue. I understand the value of having assistants around you that point you in the right direction and that help you see the light when sometimes things get dark. I understand that. But this is a pretty straightforward one. This is one that for me, it's a non-negotiable. You made the tough decision, then deliver the tough message. And then the player who is receiving it on the other end, he will do what he wants with that information. How he reacts to it, that's on him. But your job is to deliver the message.
See, emails sting. I'm telling you.
Oh, all right.
I'm telling you indeed. All right, well, let's have a look at the odds for the U.S. men's national team this World Cup. So basically, they have them favorites to get out of the group and at least win their first knockout game. But it looks like the round of 16, according to the bookies, is as far as the USA will go. Nedum, what about you? What do you think? What are your expectations now that you have seen this U.S. roster?
Oh my gosh, it's
from an outsider's point, Nedum.
Exactly.
No pressure. Just what do you think from the outside looking in? We'll still let you in the country.
So this is live on ESPN Plus in the USA, yeah? Okay, so it's definitely going to be going to at least the at least the quarterfinals. No, I think seeing the US men's national team roster and seeing the potential starting lineups, like, I can see the potential that they have there. But I'll be completely honest with you, I don't know how Paraguay will match up against them. I don't know how Australia will match up against them. I don't know how Turkey will match up against them. Because that US team playing on home turf should be able to get the wins required to get out of the group. And then from there in the knockouts, you know, anything can go as such. And maybe with the passion that they have, you know, the dream of playing in a home World Cup for themselves, that should be able to take them further than, you know, we've seen in tournaments gone by. But then again, like, you know, they look across to the man on the sideline and maybe he's not necessarily the most inspirational person they've ever seen, so that could cause its issues in and of itself. But yeah, I can see them at least, I'll say quarterfinals, because yeah, I think the tournament probably needs him to go that far to maintain the
He's
energy.
done so well, and then he caved down.
Yeah.
He totally caved.
Forget it, they're going to win it all. It's going home. They're going to win it all.
He's going home. I don't think he's ever been quite.
The ESPN Plus pressure got to him.
Nedum, don't worry. We'll still re-sign you at ESPN.
See the walls coming in. The walls were shut.
Nedum, when do you come, Nedum? Is it next week?
Yeah. I'll be traveling over next week. Yeah, I'll see you soon. I'll see you soon.
All right.
Your hotel room will still be there now.
Your flight's still booked. We've told the border to let you in. America, baby. All right. Well, there's plenty more reaction to the U.S. men's national team roster announcement on the latest Football Americas, where the guys were joined by that man, Jurgen Klinsmann. Don't miss it.